Alright, so this video I am going to walk you through how to take a digital photo, apply a grid on it, and then grid it onto a piece of paper. So what I have provided for you is a Google slide, and there are some rulers here. I tried to make them the correct size and the correct position, so make sure that you don't really move those because you're going to need them later. There's also a grid off to the side here, and that will be something that we use in just a minute. So you're going to need a photo, whatever the photo is, the lesson. Let's say I'm using these candy photos, and I'm going to drag it over here. I'm going to resize it to, actually first, before I resize it, I'm going to crop it. So one of the things that we think about when cropping is to make sure we have a focal point that's off center. We're using the rule of thirds, that we are thinking about using the whole space, and those other things about making a good composition. So in order to crop it, I have to double click on my picture, my photo, and I'm going to look for these little black bars. So the black bar I can move in and crop, and then of course I'm trying to make sure my focal point is off center. So any square or rectangle shape is fine, and if I want it more up and down, I can have it more up and down, portrait style, or if I have it more of, let's say, a landscape. So again, I'm thinking about making that focal point off center using the rule of thirds. So right now this is my focal point. I'm trying to maybe push it off over this side. That's too empty. It can be tricky. You might have to spend a little time here figuring this out. Right, maybe if I were to rotate my photo a little, oh, that actually helped a lot, I think. All right, so I'm gonna go with this. This is gonna be my photo that I want to enlarge in grid. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and line this photo up here at the edge. So I'm paying attention to this ruler, and I am going to enlarge it so that it is, I think the easiest thing would be to make it so it's 5 inches long, but we can switch that if you want, and I can show you how to do that in person. So now I have that, and it is 5 inches long. I want to kind of see how tall it is. It looks like it's 3 3/4. I'm looking at the ruler there. I need to change the arrangement so that this grid sits on top of my photograph. So I'm going to take my photo, I'm going to go up to arrange, change order, and I'm going to say send back. So once I send back, then this grid should come right on top of it. And now I'm going to move this grid on top, and I'm going to resize it. Now I might have to stretch it a little bit and squish it so that it just sits on top. So now I have my image that I am ready to enlarge and grid onto my bigger paper. But I do need some measurements. So like I said, I made it 5 inches long, and if I look here, it is about 3.75 inches tall. So we have to work with some measurements and a fraction. So I'm going to go with the height is 3.75 inches, and I'm going to make it into a fraction over the length, and the length is 5 inches. So my goal for this particular project is that my drawing is no smaller than 8 inches by 10 inches. And in this case, this is what that fraction is going to look like. The height is 8 inches. The length is 10 inches. So if I take this fraction and I had 5 inches on the bottom, if I multiply it by 2, 5 times 2, I'm going to get 10 inches, and then I'm going to take 3.75 times 2. So I'm just going to do that on my calculator, on my phone. That's 7.5. So this is going to be the measurement of my enlarged drawing. So I know the math can get difficult. If it's a square, then there's really no math to do. So if you're having a really hard time, what I would do is I would crop your photo to be a perfect square. Then you don't even have to work with numbers. If you're doing a perfect square in this case, I would say make that a 9-inch by 9-inch square. That's what you'd want to draw on your sketching paper or your drawing paper. All right, so on the paper that you're going to make your project, go ahead and get your ruler out. We're going to make it 7.5 inches by 10 inches. So 10 inches here. And then the height is going to be 7.5. That's not going to fit on there, so I'm going to start over on the back here. 10 inches. Now the border, I can make that as dark as I want, but when I start to do the grid, I'm going to really want to make sure that is very light. So I'm using my ruler, 7.5 by 10 inches. That is the measurement based on the photograph that I cropped using that slide. So that is the outline, and now I'm going to go ahead and make that grid just like we did before. So this is where I would do it very, very lightly. I'm going to try to draw a little bit darker so that you're able to see. So I do a big X. I then go do the plus signs, and then I go from the top of the plus to the side of the plus, here to here, here to here, and here to here. So I have my grid set up. Again, your lines should be really light because on your final drawing you don't want to see those grid lines. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my reference photo, and I'm going to start right here in this box, and I'm going to draw what I see here into this one right here. And once I have drawn that, then I move to the next one, and the next one, and the next one.